delivered with energy and rhythm like T.D. Jakes. Some of you walked in here today carrying weight from the weak, weight from worry, weight from waiting. You've been praying for a change, pushing for a breakthrough, but nothing seems to move. Yet I came to tell you, hold on, because the Spirit of the living God is about to visit your circumstance. When the Spirit moves, walls fall. When the Spirit enters, dry bones rise. Spirit breathes, what was broken starts to build again. You're not waiting for luck. You're standing in line for transformation. You see, life has a way of cornering us, of making us feel forgotten. But God's Spirit doesn't need perfect timing or perfect conditions. It only needs a willing space. When divine energy visits your situation, doesn't ask permission, it changes everything. The same energy that designed galaxies, that paints sunsets, whispers peace into storms, that same Spirit is about to step into your story. Not next year, not next month. Now, the Spirit moves where it's welcomed. That's not just a statement, it's a spiritual principle, divine law written into the rhythm of the universe itself. Everything that grows, everything that expands, everything that transforms, it all begins with welcome. You see, the Spirit doesn't force its way into your life. It doesn't break doors. It knocks, waits for permission. It stands at the edge of your circumstance, asking one quiet question. Is there room for me here? Think about your own life for a moment. How many times have you asked for change? Closed the very door that change was trying to enter through. You prayed for peace, but filled your day with noise. You asked for wisdom, refused stillness. You wanted guidance, but you never stopped moving long enough to hear direction. The Spirit moves where it's welcomed, and welcome is more than a word, it's a posture. It's the space between worry and surrender, between control and trust. Let me bring it home. Imagine your house for a moment. If you know company is coming over, what do? You clean the living room. You make space on the couch. You light a candle. You prepare for presence. You don't wait until the knock on the door. You start before the visit happens. That's how you show honor to what's coming. The same is true with the Spirit. If you're expecting divine movement in your life, prepare the space now. Don't wait until the moment is obvious. Start moving as if it's already on the way. The energy of the Spirit looks for a ready place to dwell. A heart that's open, a mind that's teachable, a spirit that's humble enough to admit, I don't know it all, I'm ready to grow. Too many people want divine help, but don't want divine direction. They want the miracle without the movement. The Spirit only fills what's empty. It only blesses what's open. Think about the farmer who plants a seed. Before he ever sees growth, he first breaks the ground, he opens the soil. That act of breaking, that act of preparing, it's not glamorous, but it's necessary. Soil has to be disrupted before it can be fruitful. The same is true in your life. Sometimes the reason you feel shaken, stretched, uncertain is because your ground is being broken open for a new visitation. Don't mistake preparation for punishment. The Spirit moves where it's welcome. Sometimes the breaking is what makes the welcome possible. Let's be honest. Most of us want God's Spirit to move. We only want it to move where we're comfortable. We say, change me, but we really mean, change everything except what I like. Yet, true spiritual movement requires surrender. The Spirit doesn't come to decorate, it comes to transform. It doesn't enter to maintain, it enters to multiply. It doesn't visit to make you feel good, it visits to make you new. I remember watching a caterpillar once. It was struggling inside its cocoon. To anyone watching, it looked painful, even pointless. But the struggle was creating the strength it would need to fly. That's how the Spirit works in your circumstance. It doesn't always look beautiful when it's moving. It doesn't always feel peaceful when it's working. If you welcome the process, you'll witness the transformation. The Spirit moves through expectancy. Expectancy is magnetic. It attracts divine activity. When you wake up in the morning and say, something good is going to happen today, you open your atmosphere. When you face trouble and declare, even this will work for my good, you make room for movement. When you refuse to be defined by fear and instead walk in faith, you create an environment where the Spirit can flow freely. Every moment of your day is an opportunity to invite that movement. When you pause before reacting, you breathe before speaking. When you choose forgiveness over frustration, you are opening spiritual space. The Spirit doesn't always move in fire and thunder. Sometimes it moves in quiet obedience, in small acts of love, in the gentle turning of your heart towards something higher. Look at nature. The ocean doesn't fight the tide, it flows with it. The trees don't resist the wind, they bend with it. The Spirit moves the same way. It flows where there's flexibility. If you want the Spirit to move in your career, your relationships, your dreams, your healing, stop trying to control the outcome and start creating openness. Flexibility is faith in motion. It's saying, I may not know where this is leading, but I trust the one who's leading. Think about your car's GPS. It can't give you new directions until you admit you're lost or off track. The moment you acknowledge, I need guidance, it recalibrates. That's what the Spirit does. It's not limited by how far you've gone off course. It just needs you to be willing to listen again. The Spirit moves where it's welcomed, not where it's resisted. And here's something powerful. Your welcome doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be genuine. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to have it all together. All the Spirit needs is your yes, your open heart is the invitation. The moment you say, I'm ready, the energy of heaven begins to align circumstances, opportunities, and guide your steps in ways you can't imagine. So if you feel stuck, if your situation seems dry, if your hope has grown thin, don't close up. Don't harden your heart. Create space again. Welcome the presence that transforms emptiness into abundance, confusion into clarity, and struggle into strength. You don't have to chase miracles, just make room for them. The Spirit is always near, always ready, always waiting for an invitation. And when you open that door, when you truly make space, something divine begins to move in the unseen. Energy shifts. Paths align, peace settles. The same presence that breathes galaxies into being will begin to breathe over your life. Everything that once felt lifeless will begin to live again. Because the Spirit moves where it's welcomed. And if you welcome it, truly welcome it, everything around you will begin to move too. Stillness prepares you for movement. That truth sounds simple, carries the weight of worlds within it. In a time where everyone is running, rushing, posting, proving, and performing, stillness feels foreign, almost uncomfortable. Yet it is in stillness that the deepest shifts take place. You can't hear divine direction while shouting over your own noise. You can't feel guidance if you're too busy forcing your own plans. The Spirit speaks softly, and if life is too loud, you'll miss it. Stillness is not idleness, it is positioning. It's the art of tuning your heart to a higher frequency so you can sense what ordinary eyes can't see. Look around at nature. The river never roars all the time. Even the ocean has calm days. The earth breathes in rhythms of movement and pause. Pause is not weakness, it's wisdom. Stillness gives clarity to movement. Before the eagle takes flight, it studies the wind. Before a dancer performs, there's a moment of poise, of balance, of grounding. Before the athlete explodes off the line, there's silence, concentration, focus. The stillness before the action is what gives the action its precision and power. Most of us pray for forward motion, but God often answers with a pause. You think the pause is punishment. It's actually preparation. When life seems to stop, it's not because the Spirit has left you, it's because it's aligning you. You can't receive divine direction if your mind is spinning in circles. The Spirit doesn't compete with chaos, it waits for your surrender. Imagine a cup filled to the brim with muddy water. You can't see through it because everything is stirred up, but if you let that water sit still, what happens? The dirt settles. Clarity appears. The same thing happens in your soul. The storms of stress, anger, fear, and anxiety cloud your vision. But when you sit still, when you breathe, you let the noise fall silent, the sediment of your emotions begins to settle, and suddenly you can see again. That is when revelation comes. That is when direction becomes clear. Sometimes stillness feels like nothing is happening, but that's when the most sacred things are being built. Seeds don't grow while being watched. They grow underground, in silence, in darkness. You don't hear their progress. That doesn't mean there isn't any. The Spirit works the same way. Just because you can't see movement doesn't mean there isn't movement. Stillness is the soil where invisible miracles are planted. Think about your phone. If it's constantly running apps, always open, always active, what happens? The battery drains, it overheats, it slows down. Sometimes the most productive thing you can do for it is to close everything, let it rest, let it recharge. Your spirit is no different. You can't run on empty and expect to receive divine power. You need rest, reflection, and restoration. Stillness doesn't mean doing nothing. It means allowing something greater to do its work in you. There's a story written in the rhythm of everyday life. You get up early, you chase deadlines, you fight through traffic, you juggle demands, and all the while your soul is whispering, "Can we pause?" But because the world equates stillness with laziness, you push harder. Yet even machines need maintenance. Even the strongest engines must stop to refuel. When you neglect your inner stillness, you become disconnected from the very source of your strength. Imagine sitting in front of a radio trying to find a station. You turn the dial, but all you hear is static. You keep moving it faster. The sound never clears. But when you slow down, when you move carefully, patiently, the signal locks in and the sound becomes crisp and clear. That's how divine communication works. When you're in a hurry, life sounds like static. But when you slow down, when you practice stillness, you begin to hear clarity. The Spirit's voice becomes undeniable. Stillness is also an act of trust. It says, "I believe something is working even when I can't see it." The ocean doesn't panic when the tide goes out. It knows it's coming back in. That's the kind of faith stillness builds. When you can be calm in uncertainty, you've entered a higher level of spiritual maturity. You're no longer moved by fear. You're anchored in peace. You're no longer begging for control. You're confident in divine timing. Many of us are addicted to motion. We equate business with purpose, but movement without meaning is just noise. The Spirit is not impressed by activity. It's drawn to awareness. That's why sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is stop, pause, reflect, breathe. Because in that pause, inspiration visits. Solutions appear, strength renews. Take a moment to think about the calm after a storm. The air feels cleaner, the light seems brighter, the world looks fresh. That's what happens in you after true stillness. The storms of stress pass, the winds of worry quiet down. Suddenly your mind becomes a landscape where peace can grow. When you choose stillness, you're telling the universe, "I'm not running anymore. I'm ready to receive." And the moment you reach that space, the Spirit begins to align things, ideas, opportunities, people, timing all working in harmony to move you forward. But now your movement is no longer frantic, it's focused, no longer desperate, it's deliberate, because stillness prepared you for it. The next time you feel lost, restless, or impatient, don't rush to fix everything. Sit in the silence. Allow yourself to breathe. The Spirit doesn't always come in the earthquake or the fire. It often comes in the whisper. Listen for that whisper. It carries more power than any shout. Stillness isn't the absence of progress, it's the presence of purpose. When you quiet your mind, your heart begins to hear what your head could never understand. And in that moment, something divine begins to rise within you. Not from striving, from surrender. So when life demands hurry, choose calm. When fear screams louder, choose silence. When your path feels uncertain, stop running. Because it's often in your quietest moments that the Spirit begins its loudest work. Stillness doesn't delay your destiny. It delivers you to it. Broken places are entry points for power. That truth may sound strange, even uncomfortable, because no one enjoys breaking. We spend our whole lives trying to hold it all together, our plans, our image, our pride, our sense of control. We fear cracks because we think cracks mean weakness. But in the divine design of life, brokenness is not a flaw, it's a doorway. The places where we've been shattered are often the same places where light enters, where strength is rebuilt, where divine energy flows most freely. The Spirit does not avoid broken things, it specializes in them. Think about a piece of pottery that has been cracked. In Japan, there's an art called kintsugi, the mending of broken pottery with veins of gold. Instead of hiding the break, they fill it with beauty. The repaired object becomes even more valuable than before it was broken. That's how the Spirit works with your life. It doesn't erase your pain, redeems it. It takes what's been fractured and turns it into a vessel that reflects glory. Every scar becomes a line of purpose. Every wound becomes a place where divine light shines through. When you try to hide your brokenness, you block your blessing. The Spirit cannot fill what you pretend is whole. Healing begins the moment you stop performing and start admitting. There is power in saying, yes, hurt, yes, I've been disappointed. Yes, I've fallen apart, but I'm still here. That honesty creates space for transformation. The Spirit doesn't need your perfection. It needs your permission. It needs access to the parts of you that hurt the most. Imagine a seed again. It looks insignificant, small, fragile. But before it can become a tree, it must break open. The shell must crack. Only then can what's inside begin to grow. That breaking isn't the end. It's the beginning. The same thing happens in your spirit. Life breaks you open through heartbreak, loss, failure, or rejection. It's not destroying you, it's revealing you. Something powerful, something divine, something resilient is trying to emerge from within. The Spirit uses pressure to release potential. Every time something breaks in your life, it's a signal that something new is being born. A heart that's been broken learns how to love deeper. A dream that's been delayed learns how to stand stronger. A person who's been rejected learns how to rely on something higher than approval. Your pain is not punishment. It's preparation. It's the refining fire that melts away what's shallow so that what's sacred can rise. Think of the diamond. It's only a piece of carbon until it's crushed under unimaginable pressure. That pressure doesn't destroy it, it defines it. Without the breaking, there would be no brilliance. The same Spirit that forms diamonds forms destiny through difficulty. When life presses you, it's not to break you down, it's to bring out what's been buried inside. You are not fragile, you are being forged. Sometimes your greatest growth happens right after your greatest pain. When everything you thought you needed falls apart, you realize that what truly sustains you isn't outside of you, it's within you. It's the divine energy breathing through your resilience, whispering through your courage, shining through your tears. There's a certain beauty in brokenness. It softens pride, it deepens compassion, opens the heart to wisdom. People who have been through something carry an energy that cannot be taught. It can only be lived. Imagine walking through a forest after a storm. Trees have fallen, branches are scattered, the ground is scattered, but look closely. In the cracks of the broken wood, new shoots of green are beginning to grow. Life is finding its way through the wreckage. The Spirit moves the same way in you. After the storms of disappointment and heartbreak, it starts planting seeds of renewal right inside the ruins. What looks destroyed today might become the foundation of your new tomorrow. The truth is, brokenness teaches you empathy. It makes you see others differently. You begin to notice pain in people's eyes. You become gentler with words, slower to judge, quicker to forgive. You learn that everyone is fighting a silent battle. And in that awareness, you carry the Spirit's compassion wherever you go. Your own healing becomes a light for someone else's darkness. That's the hidden power of being broken. You become a vessel of healing for others. When glass shatters, it can cut or it can reflect. What makes the difference is how it's handled. If you gather the pieces and let the Spirit work through them, your brokenness can reflect something beautiful, something divine. But if you hide it or deny it, it only causes more pain. Spirit doesn't need you to be flawless. It needs you to be honest. Your transparency is your transformation. Many of the world's most inspiring people didn't rise because everything was easy. They rose because something broke. They faced failure, loss, rejection, tragedy, and instead of letting it define them, they let it refine them. They found a deeper strength that only brokenness could uncover. Spirit often builds your highest strength out of your lowest moments. The cracks are not the end of your story. They are the places where your new chapter begins. So if you feel broken right now, if your heart is heavy, your plans have collapsed, your hope feels fragile, don't curse the breaking. Embrace it as a sacred moment. The Spirit is working through that crack, creating space for something powerful to emerge. Every tear you shed is watering the soil of your next season. Every wound you carry is preparing you for wisdom that cannot be taught in comfort. You are not falling apart. You are falling into alignment. The same way a sculptor chips away at marble to reveal the masterpiece within, the Spirit uses life's breaks to reveal your brilliance. You may not see it yet. One day you'll look back and realize that what broke you also built you. So stop hiding your scars. They are proof that light has touched you. The Spirit's power doesn't flow through perfect vessels. It flows through open ones. And every time you choose to heal instead of harden, forgive instead of fight, rise instead of retreat, you become living proof that brokenness is not the end of your story, but the beginning of your becoming. Transformation begins with declaration. There is a divine power woven into the fabric of your words, a creative force that shapes what you see and how you live. Everything you speak releases energy, either building or breaking, blessing or blocking. The Spirit responds to the sound of faith, not the echo of fear. Too often, we speak what we feel instead of what we believe. We describe our pain instead of declaring our purpose. But your life begins to change the moment your language aligns with your destiny. What you declare becomes what you attract. Every morning you wake up, you are faced with a choice to speak life or to speak limitation. The words that flow from your mouth set the direction for your day. If you say, I can't handle this, you've already surrendered your strength. If you say, I'll never rise above this, you've built your own ceiling. But when you say, I'm built for this, when you declare, something good is working for me even now, the universe listens. The Spirit moves through your declaration because your words signal belief. Faith is not silent, it speaks. Look at how creation itself began with words. The universe didn't appear through chaos, it responded to command. When divine energy spoke, let there be, everything that was formless began to take form. That same creative energy flows through you. When you speak with intention, you are not just talking, you are creating. Every sentence is a seed, every word a brushstroke on the canvas of your future. So if you don't like what you see, start changing what you say. Think about a gardener. Before the harvest appears, they plant seeds with confidence. They don't stand over the soil in doubt. They speak to the ground. They nurture it. They believe something unseen is growing. That's what declaration is. It's spiritual planting. You may not see results immediately, but your words are taking root in unseen soil. Every affirmation, every positive confession, every faith-filled statement is preparing your next season. Speak the harvest before you see the sprout. Daily life gives you countless chances to practice this truth. When you wake up tired, instead of saying, I'm exhausted, try saying, I'm recharging and ready for strength. When faced with difficulty, don't say, this is too hard. Declare, this is teaching me resilience. When opportunities seem scarce, don't say, there's nothing for me. Speak, something greater is being prepared in my favor. You're not lying to yourself, you're aligning yourself. You're giving your spirit a direction to follow. Your words don't just describe your world, they design it. People who constantly talk about defeat live surrounded by it. People who speak hope begin to see it reflected in everything. The Spirit moves where it's invited, and your declarations are invitations. When you speak life, you create spiritual movement. You open a door for power to enter. Even science echoes this truth. Studies show that speaking positive, intentional words changes not only your mindset, but even your body chemistry. Your heart rate slows, your brain releases calming chemicals, your energy shifts. If your physical world reacts to your words, how much more does your spiritual world? The Spirit recognizes the vibration of confidence, recognizes faith spoken aloud. There's a reason ancient wisdom tells us that the power of life and death is in the tongue. What you repeat, you reinforce every time you say, I am strong. Your spirit remembers its strength every time you declare, I am worthy. You rewrite the story that pain tried to tell. Declarations don't change the world instantly. They change you, and then you change the world around you. Think of a musician tuning an instrument. The strings might be out of harmony, but with careful adjustment, they begin to match the right tone. Your declarations tune your spirit. They bring your thoughts, emotions, and actions into harmony with divine purpose. When you start declaring truth over your life, everything begins to align. The right people, the right opportunities, the right timing. Maybe you've been through seasons where your words have been shaped by pain. Words like, I'll never recover, I'm not enough, it's over for me. Those words build invisible walls around your potential. Here's the beauty. The moment you decide to speak differently, the walls begin to fall. You don't need to have everything figured out. You just need to shift your language. Speak as if healing is already happening. Speak as if peace is already present. Speak as if your future is already forming, because it is. I once met a woman who had faced years of disappointment. Every time she spoke, it was filled with defeat. She didn't realize she was reinforcing her pain with her words. When she started replacing her complaints with declarations, I'm growing, I'm learning, I'm attracting better, her energy changed. Within months, opportunities began to appear, not because magic happened, but because her words had shifted her vision. She started seeing possibility where she once saw problems. The Spirit flowed through her new declaration. The same can happen for you. Every time you open your mouth, ask yourself, am I creating or complaining? Am I calling power or pushing it away? Your tongue is a tool of transformation. Speak with purpose, speak with conviction, speak with gratitude even before the gift arrives. It's easy to talk about what's wrong. It takes courage to declare what's right even when it doesn't look that way yet. But that's what faith sounds like. Faith doesn't deny reality. It declares a greater reality. When everything looks dark, faith says, light is coming. When the door closes, faith declares, another one is opening. And the Spirit, recognizing the sound of belief, begins to move in your favor. Transformation begins the moment you stop describing your life from the perspective of defeat and start declaring it from the perspective of destiny. Your words are not small, they are sacred. Use them wisely. Each time you declare strength, peace, and purpose, you are rebuilding the architecture of your reality. So today, dare to speak differently. Declare that the best version of yourself is emerging. Declare that what you lost will return multiplied. Declare that your waiting season is becoming your winning season. Because the Spirit listens when you speak in alignment with truth. And when your words carry faith, heaven responds with power. You have the authority to call light into dark places, peace into chaos, strength into weakness. Use that power. Let your declaration be louder than your doubt. Speak what you seek until you see what you've spoken. Because transformation doesn't wait for perfect conditions. It begins the moment you dare to declare. When the Spirit visits, you can't stay the same. Every genuine encounter with divine energy leaves a mark. It changes your rhythm, your thoughts, your desires, your atmosphere. You can't experience that kind of presence and go back to who you used to be. When the Spirit enters, it rearranges what needs to move, revives what you thought was dead, and reveals what was hidden inside you all along. The visit of divine presence isn't a moment to remember. It's a turning point to live from. It's the invisible fire that transforms your ordinary into extraordinary. Imagine for a moment how a room feels when sunlight suddenly breaks through the window after a long night. The shadows flee, the air feels different, and everything in the room looks alive again. That's what happens when the Spirit visits your circumstance. It doesn't just touch your situation, it transforms the atmosphere around you. Suddenly, things that once felt heavy begin to feel lighter. The problems that seemed permanent start to shift. The same place that once carried pain begins to carry peace. You realize that transformation doesn't start with changed circumstances. It starts with a changed presence. There are moments in life when you know something beyond yourself has touched your story. Maybe it was during a quiet morning when clarity filled your mind out of nowhere. Maybe it was in the middle of chaos, calm suddenly washed over you for no reason. That's the Spirit visiting you subtly, yet powerfully. And once that divine presence touches your life, your perception changes. You stop seeing life as random and start seeing it as orchestrated. You stop asking, why me? And start asking, what's this teaching me? The visit turns pain into purpose, confusion into clarity, struggle into strength. Think about how fire interacts with metal. When metal is heated, it becomes pliable, it can be shaped, molded, refined. Fire doesn't destroy the metal, it transforms it. Likewise, when the Spirit visits your life, it burns away what's unnecessary, fear, pride, resentment, doubt, and leaves only what's strong, pure, and true. Sometimes that fire feels uncomfortable because transformation rarely feels gentle. When you emerge from it, you are stronger, sharper, and clearer than before. The same heat that once scared you becomes the force that shapes you. In daily life, you can see this transformation in the simplest ways. Maybe you used to react with anger, but now you respond with grace. Maybe you used to worry about every outcome, but now you trust that timing is divine. Maybe you used to chase approval, but now you walk in quiet confidence. That's not just maturity. That's evidence of visitation. The Spirit doesn't just improve you, it renews you. It gives you a peace that doesn't depend on people, a joy that doesn't depend on circumstances, a strength that doesn't depend on status. When divine energy visits, it activates dormant potential. Things you didn't even know were in you start to awaken, ideas begin to flow, creativity expands, courage rises. You begin to notice that old dreams start stirring again and new ones begin forming. It's as if the breath of creation itself is moving through your being, reminding you that you are not done yet. The Spirit visits not to comfort your comfort zone, but to call you out of it. You begin to realize that the limits you once accepted were never yours. They were borrowed from fear. The Spirit's presence makes you unrecognizable to your old limitations. Think about a caterpillar transforming into a butterfly. The cocoon season looks like isolation, looks like stillness, looks like nothing is happening. But inside, everything is changing. The structure, the shape, the identity, it's all being rewritten. When the butterfly finally emerges, it doesn't crawl anymore, it soars. That's exactly what happens when the Spirit visits your circumstance. You may have been crawling through confusion, trapped by circumstance, by the weight of the past, but one divine encounter gives you wings. Suddenly, what once held you no longer defines you. You rise above it. The transformation is not just internal, it radiates outward. People who knew you before start noticing something different about you. They may not understand it, but they can feel it. Your words carry more weight. Your presence brings calm. Your energy becomes contagious. That's what happens when you've been touched by something greater. You become a reflection of that greatness. You become light in dark rooms, hope in hopeless places, strength for those who are weary. You become a vessel through which the Spirit moves, blessing others through your own renewal. When the Spirit visits, even your failures start to look different. You stop seeing them as dead ends and start seeing them as divine detours. You understand that rejection was redirection, that loss was making space for new gain. The Spirit gives you a higher lens. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You begin to declare, this is happening for me. Your outlook shifts from frustration to faith, from resistance to readiness. That's how transformation works. It doesn't change what happens around you first. It changes what happens within you, so you can face life differently. Sometimes the Spirit's visit will stir things up before it settles them down. Just like a house being renovated, there's dust before beauty, breaking before building. But even in the disruption, something divine is working. Everything feels unsettled. Remember, it's not falling apart. It's falling into place. The Spirit doesn't visit to leave things as they are. It visits to bring everything into divine order. Once the Spirit touches your life, your language changes. You start to speak with authority instead of anxiety. You start to walk with confidence instead of confusion. You begin to declare possibility where others see impossibility. You become evidence of transformation, a living message that no pain is wasted, no journey is pointless, and no situation is beyond redemption. The visit of divine presence doesn't always come with lightning or thunder. Sometimes it's quiet, like peace in the middle of chaos, or a sudden knowing that everything will be okay. But make no mistake, once it arrives, you will never be the same. Because where the Spirit visits, new life begins. Dreams awaken, strength, vision clears. So when you sense that divine stirring within you, don't resist it. welcome it, because that's not just inspiration, that's visitation. And after the Spirit has visited your circumstance, absolutely nothing will remain the same. The old you fades, the new you rises, and the world around you begins to feel the ripple of your transformation. When you make room for the Spirit, abundance follows. Not because you begged for it or chased it, but because divine energy fills every space that welcomes it. Too often, people live crowded lives, crowded with worry, crowded with noise, crowded with distractions, crowded with opinions. There's no space left for the whisper of peace, no margin for miracles, no room for revelation. But when you clear the clutter of fear and open your heart, the Spirit doesn't just visit, it dwells, it takes residence, and wherever it dwells, growth begins. Imagine walking into a room so packed with furniture that you can't move freely. Even if someone wanted to bring you a gift, there's no place to set it down. That's what happens when your inner life is filled with doubt, resentment, and an endless mental noise. The Spirit cannot drop blessings into a space that's already occupied by everything you refuse to release. Making room isn't about losing, it's about allowing. It's about saying, I am ready for something greater. I'm willing to let go of what no longer serves me. Think about the rhythm of breathing. You inhale, you exhale. You can't breathe in new air until you release the old. In the same way, spiritual renewal can't enter a life that won't let go of what's stale. The Spirit flows where there is openness, where there is willingness, where there is space to move. You can't fill a closed hand. You can't pour into a full cup. You have to create room, not just in your schedule, but in your soul. In everyday life, this might look like forgiveness. Forgiving someone isn't just freeing them, it's freeing you. Every grudge takes up spiritual real estate that could be used for peace. It's like trying to plant flowers in soil covered by rocks. Nothing beautiful can grow there until you remove what's blocking the ground. Forgiveness doesn't excuse what happened, but it clears the space for healing to take root. When you make that room, Spirit replaces bitterness with balance and pain with purpose. Sometimes making room also means releasing the need for control. You can't be the driver of every detail and still expect divine flow. The Spirit doesn't compete for the steering wheel. It waits for your surrender. Control feels safe, but it's heavy. It's exhausting to carry the illusion that you can manage everything. When you finally let go, you create a vacuum that divine wisdom rushes to fill. Suddenly, the answers you were forcing begin to appear naturally. The timing you were fighting starts aligning on its own. That's not coincidence, that's consequence. The consequence of making room. Think of a farmer again. Before planting new crops, they clear the field. They pull the weeds, remove the old roots until the soil. It looks like destruction, but it's actually preparation. They're making room for new growth. In your life, when things start being removed, people, situations, habits, it might feel like loss, but often it's divine pruning. The Spirit can't plant new purpose in soil overgrown with the old. So when something leaves, don't rush to fill the space with noise or distraction. Let the emptiness breathe. Something holy is on the way. You can also make room by quieting your mind. Every day, the world throws thousands of voices at you, adds news, opinions, doubts. But the Spirit speaks in stillness. You won't hear it over the volume of chaos. Set aside moments in your day where you simply listen. No scrolling, no reacting, no overthinking, just breathing, just being. In those sacred pauses, the Spirit begins to speak softly, guiding you, healing you, preparing you. The most profound revelations often arrive in the quiet moments that most people rush past. Making room isn't a one-time act, it's a lifestyle. It's waking up each day and asking, what do I need to release so I can receive? Maybe it's fear of the future. Maybe it's regret from the past. Maybe it's the approval of others that's been draining your energy. Whatever it is, the moment you let it go, space opens up for something higher. The Spirit never enters to take from you, it enters to fill you. But it can only fill what's empty. I once spoke to someone who said they couldn't feel any spiritual connection anymore. They prayed, they worked hard, they waited, but nothing moved. Then one day, they decided to declutter not their house, but their mind. They stopped saying yes to everything and started saying yes only to what aligned with peace. Within weeks, their energy shifted. They started noticing signs, opportunities, clarity. The Spirit hadn't been absent, it had just been crowded out. Once they made room, divine flow returned. Even nature lives by this law. When trees shed their leaves in autumn, it looks like loss. But that shedding is what allows new life to emerge in spring. The tree doesn't panic during winter. It trusts the cycle. The Spirit moves the same way through your life. When something falls away, it's not punishment, it's preparation. The falling creates the space that future fruit will fill. You can't receive springtime blessings with autumn clutter still hanging on. Making room also means welcoming change. The Spirit's energy is movement. It flows, it evolves, it transforms. If you resist change, you resist growth. Sometimes what you call disruption is actually divine rearrangement. The Spirit is clearing the path, removing what blocks your blessing, making room for your next level. Don't fight the flow, follow it. Trust that every shift is sacred, even if it feels uncomfortable. When you truly make room for the Spirit, your life begins to feel lighter. The anxiety that once haunted you begins to fade. The relationships that drain you start to dissolve, and new ones appear that nourish your soul. Creativity returns, joy returns, peace, that deep, unshakable peace, becomes your new normal. The Spirit doesn't just visit, it inhabits. It starts turning your ordinary days into sacred moments. So today, ask yourself, what needs to go so that something greater can grow? Where can I make room for divine movement? Because the Spirit is always ready to fill, always ready to move, always ready to bless, but it will never force its way in. It waits for your space, your surrender, your invitation. And once it enters, empty space that once felt like loss will overflow with abundance, wisdom, and peace beyond understanding. Making room for the Spirit isn't about having less, it's about receiving more of what truly matters.